Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wonderful people, lovers of freedom all over the world. Wherever you're joining us from today, you're highly welcome to this wonderful YouTube platform that gives you quality news and information on everything happening in Biafran territory. Now, I'm going to be playing a very important, video for every Biafrans to listen to. This is actually from Nnamdi Kanu, and if you're truly a Biafran and you're truly interested in knowing some certain truth and reality, and also not just that, if after listening to this video you're not still convinced and you don't still understand what is happening, the times that we are in now currently as Biafrans, what to do and what not to do, how to maintain your feet and keep it strong in the struggle, then you really need help. So I'll be playing this audio, of Nnamdi Kanu, where he was able to analyze, so many issues. Now, there is one thing that has actually earned Nnamdi Kanu respect. One of the things is the ability, of him being able to decipher things. We call it prophecy. Yes. And these things don't just happen, just like that. You must have a particular level of consecration before you're able to do this kind of things. It's as simple as that. And meeting somebody like Nnamdi Kanu, who has a high level of consecration, he consecrates himself, he prays a lot. He prays a lot. He understands that fighting for Biafran freedom is something that requires both spiritual means and physical means. And that is why he has fortified himself both spiritually in God and physically. It's not just spiritually, but what are you doing in the physical aspect of it? And that is why you see that man, the level of wisdom that man has attained, has acquired, and he has able to spill out to the zoo government. That is why the world today, listens when he talks, because there is a saying that wisdom actually recognizes wisdom. Iron sharpened iron. It is when you attain to a particular level of intelligence that people with high IQ and intelligence and wisdom will be able to listen to you when you talk. And that is one thing this man has been able to do to the world. That is why when he speaks, when his case is forthcoming, people are eager, not just Biafrans, both the zoo, those who are criticizing him, are eager, to know what next. Not just the zoo alone, also the world wants to know about him because they've seen a level of intelligence and wisdom and power that this man acquires. So I want you to enjoy this one. I'm gonna make it brief, so I'll split it in parts. Part 1, part 2, and part 3. For your own consumption. Please make sure you share this video to at least 1 or 2 Biafrans. They need to know. They need to understand where they are. They need to understand the times that we are in, currently in the struggle.
We're going to pray. And as always, I am going to pray in the oldest language known to man, the language of heaven. This very language, the angels that surround the throne of grace of the Almighty in heaven are bowing down and singing praises to him in Igbo language. And that is the language that I'll use to pray this evening. onye ike niile nọ n'ọbadara aka onye ọ bụ naanị ya na-achị. Ọ bụ naanị gị ka ihe niile ekere eke na-erubere isi, n'ihi na o nweghị ihe ọ bụla bụ ihe ikere eke eji ama atụ sị na ọ bụ ya jiri gị, n'ihi na ị karịrị ihe asị na ịbụ. Ọ bụ naanị gị bụ Chineke nna nke usu niile nke ndị agha. Ọ bụ naanị gị ka kpakpando anyanwụ ọnwa na-erubere isi nna nke ebere dị ngọzi. Ị nweghị mmalite, ị nweghị ụsọtụ. Mmadụ dị ndụ na-efe gị ofufe n'egbugbere ọnụ nna nke ebere dị ngọzi, mana ịdị omimi wee karịa nghọta nke mmadụ dị ndụ nke gị onwe gị kere. Ọ bụ ụzọ dị aṅa ka anyị ga-esi wee kelee gị, ka ya bụ otuto nke anyị ga-abụrụ gị nna nke ebere dị ngọzi, ka anyị ga-esi wee jaa gị mma, n'ihi na anyị enweghị onye ọzọ ewezuga gị. Anyị anaghị efe arụsị. O nweghị ihe ọbụla nke nwa nwaanyị mụrụ ka anyị na-efe nna nke ebere dị ngọzi. O nweghị ihe ọbụla nke aka nke mmadụ mere ka anyị na-akpụ isi ala nye. Ọ bụ naanị gị ka anyị na-efe n'ime mmụọ na eziokwu, n'ihi na ọ bụ naanị gị bụ onye kerela igwe maka elu ụwa. Enweghị onye dịka gị Chineke nna nke igwe. Ọ bụ naanị gị bụ eze kachasị eze niile elu. Lekwa ihe ndị gboo na-etu gị ebighị ebi, igosipụta na ị nọ tupu mgbe wee malite. Ọ bụ naanị gị nna nke ebere dị ngọzi ka anyị na-aja mma wee na-ebuli aha nsọ ya elu mgbe niile, n'ihi na o kwesịrị ekwesị na anyị fere gị ofufe nna nke ebere, jaa gị mma ma too gị. Ọ bụ n'ime ọnọdụ anyị niile anyị ga-efe gị ofufe nna nke ebere dị ngọzi. Anyị ga-aja gị ma anyị ga-ebuli aha nsọ gị elu, n'ihi na ọ bụ naanị gị bụ Chineke nna nke usu niile nke ndị agha. Ma lekwa okike gị nna nke ebere dị ngọzi. Lekwa ụmụ gị bụ Biafra ka m na-eche gị n'iru n'abalị IPOB n'ụwa niile, ndị ezi omume ụmụ Chineke. Chetakwa na ihe niile nke anyị na-eme nna nke ebere dị ngọzi, ozi nke anyị na-agbasa onye ime eluigwe bụ n'ihi aha nsọ gị. Marakwala anyị bụ anụkpa ahụ. Ofu ụbọchị ihe niile ikere eke ga-agabiga, mana okwu nsọ nke gị na-adịgide ma ruo mgbe ebighị ebi. Ọ bụrụ na ọ ga-amasị gị na ala nsọ nke gị bụ Biafra nna nke ebere kwee n'ihi mmehie nke anyị onwe anyị mere nna nke igwe, ka ị ga-eji wee gbakọta anyị azụ, wee hapụ ka ndị iro emebili anyị, ndị a na-ebighị ugwu nna nke ebere dị ngọzi. Ọ bụ n'aka gị ka ọ nọ nna nke igwe. Ọ bụ naanị gị mere ọnụ wee kwuo na Biafra ga-abịarịrị na ndụ na-abụghị n'ọnwụ. Nke a bụ okwu ọgba ndụ nke i kwuru n'isi Ezi Ebube dị ngọzi, n'ihi na i kwuru sị ọ kakwa mma na eluigwe n'ụwa bịa na isi njedebe kama na okwu nsọ nke gị agaghị ere. Ọ bụ n'okwu nsọ gị a na nkwa nke ikwu anyị ka anyị gbakwasịrị okwu wee na-akpọku aha nsọ gị n'abalị a, n'ụtụtụ, n'ehihie, n'ụwa niile okirikiri, wee na-asị gị onye dị nsọ ma ruo mgbe ebighị ebi, bịa ka iwe eze anyị ekpere. Bịakwa ka ude nke anyị na-asụ na akwa nke anyị na-ebe metụta gị n'obi, n'ihi na ọ bụ naanị gị bụ Chineke nna nke pụrụ ihe niile. Lekwa ka ụmụ mmadụ ndị ekwensu, ndị ekwuru, ụmụ ọchịchịrị si wee gbakọ ebe niile wee na-agba izuzu ka emegide ala eze gị n'elu ụwa bụ Biafra. Ị ga-ekwe ka ihe dị etu a wee mee? Ị ga-ekwe ka ndị iro wee chi aha nsọ gị ọchị? N'ihi na agaghị achị ma ọchị, ọgwụ ụmụaka agachi ọchị. Ọ bụgụ ọgwụ Chineke nna ka agachi ọchị. A gasị ka ebe Chukwu okike abịa manụ ndị a ụmụ ya na-akpọku ya mgbe niile, ka ebe ọ nọ ọ naghị aza ha ekpere. Ọ bụ aha nsọ gị ka a ga-akọtọ, mana ọ bụ naanị gị bụ onye masịrị ihe niile. Ọ bụ na ọ gbadara aka gị ka anyị nọ nna nke ebere dị ngọzi wee na-arịọ gị n'isi IPOB n'ụwa niile, ndị nche State Security Network, ụmụ gị ebe niile ha nọ n'ụwa niile nna nke ebere dị ngọzi, ezinụlọ agbụrụ bụ Biafra nna nke igwe, biko nye anyị amamihe ma nye anyị ezi nghọta, nye anyị ezi echiche, nye anyị amamihe nke pụrụ iche, dịka isi wee kwa anyị na nkwa na ị ga-enye anyị, ka ọ ga-abụ ikpeta nsọ na Biafra ga-abịa. Anyị ga-aja gị mma wee too gị, bulie aha nsọ gị elu, ka ụwa niile wee mara n'ezie n'ezire mụ Biafra bụ ụmụ Chineke. Ka ọgbọ niile nke ga-abịa wee sị na ọ bụ Chineke nna nke pụrụ ihe niile nyere ha Biafra na ọ bụghị mmadụ dị ndụ. Anyị wee na-asị n'ụtụ na-asọpụrụ na eji ama ga-adịrị sọsọ aha nsọ gị site n'ebe mara onye ebuka na-arịọ gị ise. I prayed in the language of heaven, asụsụ eluigwe, asụsụ ndị mmụọ ozi, ọbasi bi n'igwe. My people in Akwa Ibom and Cross River, they say Abasi. My brethren in Ijoland, they say Tamuno. All glory belongs to thee. Our people from Ishekiri, they will say Orise. We call him Olisa Binigwe. The same thing, the same family. Indivisible under God Almighty in heaven. Now we are going to preach this very gospel as mandated by heaven. Because heaven will give us message we give to the living. If you don't have a pen and paper ready with you this evening, then you will not learn anything at all. This broadcast this evening goes out to all the efulefus of this world, those who believe foolishly, I should say, and idiotically believe in one Nigeria. Those who, out of self-hate and deprecation, jettisoned everything that made them humans and instead subscribed to an identity given to them by foreigners, by Europeans. I want all of you to pay very close attention to this very broadcast this evening. Omahi, Wike, Obiano, Hope Uzodimba, all these people, Ifulefus, I want you to pay attention to what I have to say. All those in Abuja and in Lagos, foolishly spending the best years of their lives in another man's land. This is also for you this evening. You have heard this clip before, some of you 1,000 times over. But this evening, we want to bring a fresh meaning and perspective into what this very Janjaweed said very many years ago, before now. Before Biafra, Ojuku's Biafra, I should say, and now before the Biafra of IPOB. What this man had to say predates the 1966 coup. What this man had to say predates all the difficulties and problems that have bedeviled the Zoological Republic till date. I want you to understand something this evening. I want to prove to the whole world, because I know that the British, those that run the zoo, the British High Commissioner, Katuna Lang, is a woman, a white woman. US ambassador, all the diplomats that are listening, because anytime we broadcast, the whole world comes to a standstill. They all listen. They are listening this evening. And I will encourage them to also bring their pen and their paper ready, please. I want to prove beyond every conceivable doubt that Fulani is the problem of Nigeria. Fulani started the problem of Nigeria from day one. Over the years, they toned down their rhetoric, they moderated their behavior. Now they have come into battle with AK-47 and their Nama, their cows. You have listened to this clip 1 billion times over. This was the clip I played in the year 2015 that led the late Buhari, because Buhari is dead, the late dead Buhari, to comment about Radio Biafra, to say that they will ban Radio Biafra because of this very clip I'm about to play now. And I want you to come to this broadcast this evening with an unbiased mind. Come very clean and clear, that God Almighty may judge you justly. I am going to play this very clip for you. And upon this very clip and what this man said, are we going to base our discussions and analysis this very evening, morning, noon, or night, depending on where you are. Listen very carefully, I beg of you, please. It's very, very important. And as I'm doing so, please, somebody should endeavor to put it on my page. In fact, on all the platforms, that the world may know that we are not the aggressors, that the world may know that Fulani people are troublemakers. Fulani people never wanted Nigeria to work from day one. Fulani people, they are the bane that Nigeria is backward today, is down to only one group of people, the Fulani tribe. When I say it now, I know that Kadira Mohammed will say this was what obtained in Rwanda in places and things happen. And they said it's pure rubbish. What we are presenting this evening are facts and figures. Please listen very carefully, especially Efulefus from Igbo land. Listen very well. All the idiots talking against Biafra, listen very carefully. All the idiots campaigning for one Nigeria, one zoo, listen very carefully, please, to understand how foolish you are. I have now come away from blaming Britain and Europe for coming to Africa, bastardizing, balkanizing, dividing, and rendering us asunder, all of us, and giving us artificial boundaries, which we accepted because we are very daft. I want to bring the problem closer home. I want to bring the issues closer to you this evening, especially for those of you who are in Nigeria, to understand the depth of your stupidity and your foolishness. I'm not insulting you. I'm only giving you facts that will guide you away from darkness into the light, which we are pointing you towards. Listen carefully, please.
Major talks about killing your premier. Add on top of that the North's general hate of the East, and you can start to get the picture of the sort of tribal tension Nigeria was heading towards.
One thing I've noticed, Premier, while I've been here, is that Northerners seem to have, almost call it obsession about the Igbos. Could you perhaps explain that to me?
Well, the Igbos are more or less the type of people whose desire is mainly to dominate everybody. If they go to a village, to a town, they want to monopolize everything in that area. If you put them in a labor camp as a laborer, within a year they will try to emerge as headman of that camp, and so on. Well, in the past, our people were not alive to their responsibilities, because you can see from our northernization policy that in 1952, when I came here, there weren't 10 northerners in our civil service here. Then I tried to have it northernized, and now all important posts are being held by northerners.
Is this policy of filling all key posts in the north solely with northerners and not with other Nigerians a temporary or permanent one?
In actual fact, what it is a northerner first. If you can't get a northerner, then we take an expatriate like yourself on contract. If we can't, then we can employ another Nigerian, but on contract too. This is going to be permanent, I should say, as far as I can foresee, because it will be rather dangerous to see the number of boys who are now turning from all our learning institutions, coming out with having no work to do. I'm sure whichever government of the day might be, it will feel rather embarrassed, and it might even lead to bloodshed.
Doesn't this damage the idea, sir, of all people in all regions in Nigeria being fellow citizens of one country?
Well, it might, but you are, new to our region, but how many northerners are employed in the east or in the west? The answer is no. And if there may be 10 laborers employed only.
I hope you have listened to, that is the voice of the man that Buhari was emulating when he came into office. Buhari was following the footsteps of this very man you've listened to now. He was the Sadwana of Sokoto, the leader of the Northern Nigeria People's Congress. He was the leader of the North. Anytime you have a Janjaweed say their founding fathers, they were referring to this very man. You just heard his voice now. He was interviewed, should I say, rather bizarrely, independently, so to speak, by a BBC journalist. I believe that was in the late 50s to early 60s. These are the people responsible, so we are told, for bringing the so-called, should I say, flag independence to Nigeria. Anytime you hear, be it the Senate president or anybody from the northern part of the zoo, talk about their founding fathers, they were talking about this man. And this man was asked a question by a white man. The interviewer is a white man working for the BBC. They asked this black man, this very baboon in a zoo, his name is Sir Ahmadu Bello. He was knighted by the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth. Understand this very clearly. That is why I said it is better for you to bring your pen and paper this evening. Even if you don't come to lectures again without a pen and paper, it's better for this evening. You must have one. Very, very critical, please. This man, alongside Awolowo and Azikiwe, and to an extent, Tafawa Balewa, they were responsible, so to speak, for forging the new Nigeria that Britain had created. It was in 1960. After independence. And he was asked a simple question, a very simple question. Why do you hate Igbo people so much? These are Fulani people. I want Okezibaso, I want Hope Uzodema, I want all of them to, I want Wike, I want them to pay attention this evening. I want to Hannes and George Obioso pay very particular attention, because what this man said in late 50s and early 1960s is still prevalent today in our lives. And I'm going to prove it to you this evening, one after the other. The man asked him, in other words, this is where I get upset with Katrina Lang and the so-called British mission in Nigeria. Britain is aware, because this is a BBC journalist interviewing a Fulani leader. When there was no strife, there was no war, there was no problem, when they were planning and creating their useless one Nigeria, please pay attention, please. Pay attention, please, to understand how foolish we came, to understand how foolish, to understand how foolish anybody talking about one Nigeria. I want to prove to you tonight, heaven is my witness, that the person is a fool, especially if you're a Biafran. They asked this man, and when they talk about Igbos in those days, they're talking about everybody from the East. In fact, to an extent, even including the West. These are the people they claim that created one Nigeria for us. These are the people they call their founding fathers. That is why after this broadcast this evening, I do not think that Nigeria can ever be the same again. They asked him, why do you hate the Igbos? At the time that this question was being asked, there was no Fulani headsman problem, no banditry, no insurgency. There was no problem. There was euphoria all over the world that the largest black nation had emerged. That they call Nigeria. And this is one of the leaders, one of the leading lights of that very period of history of Africa, so to speak. And what he started with was hatred for Biafrans. In other words, for a BBC journalist to ask Ahmadu Bello, why is it that Fulani people are obsessed with hatred for Igbo people? What I'm telling you that didn't happen yesterday. Please, I don't want you to do not misquote me or misunderstand me. This happened many, many years ago as Nigeria was being formed. They asked him, why do you hate Igbo people so much? Not only that, the man asked him, why do you have an obsession? Is a type of madness. In other words, BBC of all people, BBC and by extension the British government knew from day one that Fulani had an obsession against Igbo people and will kill them. That will. They knew it. Everybody knew it. But Azikiwe decided to keep quiet about it. The same thing that Igbo governors, Eastern governors, Biafran leaders are doing today. That is why we are in the mess we are in. Because this is the person who founded, co-founder of the new Nigeria that Britain had created. He is the Fulani leader. It was because of the death of this man that we lost 5 million people between 67 to 70. It was because of the death of this man that Gowon declared war on Biafran people. It was because of the death of this man. That was why Aburi never stood. The agreement reached between Ojukwu and Gowon never stood a chance of working because the Fulanis were hell-bent on avenging the death of this man. I'm going to play his voice once again, and I want people to please try and determine for themselves if by killing this man, Nzogu had done anything wrong. It was Nzogu that killed him because Nzogu was a Nigerianist. Nzogu was a patriot. Nzogu felt that what this man, I want to let the world understand what led to the war and why Britain said that Nigeria must go to war against Biafra. You must pay attention this evening. I'm begging you. I'm going to play his voice again. Before he started, somebody, I provided an intro, kind of a voiceover, for you to understand, so that what is happening today with Fulani Janjaweedism, banditry, the hatred, the fact that when this regime of Buhari came in 2015, their plan was a northernization agenda. What this northernization means that a Fulani man will occupy every position of importance in Nigeria. This thing was said over 60 years ago, but in 2015, when Buhari was, they implemented it, they're still implementing it till to this very day. That is why I feel sorry for the South, by which I mean the East and the West. I even want my Yoruba brethren who are listening to pay very close attention. I want them to understand the mess everybody's in the South. I want them to begin to appreciate the level of trickery, the level of takia, the level of deception the Fulanis are willing to deploy in order to conquer you, both spiritually and physically. Because as at the time this man said this very thing, when I say they say I hate Fulani, I don't hate anybody. It was Fulani that hated me first. They did not just hate me first. They have consistently hated me. Are you listening to me? Now I'm going to play it again. Listen to the intro and you listen to the voice of the man they claim created Nigeria. And you will understand from what he's saying, it is what APC is implementing today. APC, Fulani Party. Fulani Party of bandits and terrorists. That's what they said, northernization agenda. The North first. And some of you may be wondering, why is it that Fulani has this hatred for Igbo people? I want Oposodema to pay very close attention. I want Ohaneze Ndiara and Ndioshi to pay attention. I want every Efulefu to listen very carefully. You may be wondering, why is it for no reason we were not at war in late 50s and early 60s? Nothing was wrong. We did nothing to Fulani. A Fulani leader, the leader of the Fulani people, the leader of the entire North, came out to say, we hate Igbo people. And he gave the interview to BBC. Now, how can you blame me for hating them? I don't even hate them. I'm only trying to fight them or stop them from killing our people. That's what I'm doing. I want to tell you that what they are planning, what the plan of APC today was what Ahmadu Bello has scripted down. I said that was why in 2003, 2011, you see, 2003, 2007, 2011, Buhari kept contesting. People never knew the reason why Buhari overthrew the government of Shagari. Buhari, this is his mentor. His hero is the Sadwana. If you listen to him when he was alive, if any of you paid any attention to what Buhari was saying, Buhari kept saying that they killed Sadwana, that they killed Sadwana. That's his hero. The reason why Sadwana hated the Igbo people was because the East was the only part that their type of Islam never got to. You may think it's about politics and economic development. It's because the Fulani sword and Quran got into Yoruba land. The Fulani sword and Quran decimated the entire Middle Belt. The Fulani sword and Quran got into even up to Upper Benue, but never made it to the East. That is their anger. Till tomorrow morning. And they will never stop. I want Wike, I want Osodemba, I want all these idiots, I want Ohaneze and Ndioshi to pay very close attention. The reason why they keep telling you every day, stay in one Nigeria, do what you can, is because they want to conquer you. It's their job, it's in their bone marrow, it's in their DNA. This is a man who is a nationalist. The most painful thing is that Britain knew about all these things, but they kept quiet. Britain never said anything. Britain kept quiet. I want to play it for you again. This is the leader of the Fulani people. I want to tell you that the hatred they're pouring out today, the reason why Buhari can form a government and there is no Igbo man in it, the reason why they can be doing all the nonsense they're doing, customs or not, EFCC, not is because it is a grand plan. And I want you to compare and contrast the behavior of Fulani politicians with that of the idiots from your village in the South. Do you see how the Fulanis laid down a template? Not just a template of political domination, but a template of complete and total annihilation of every indigenous ethnic group in Nigeria. What APC is carrying out today was laid down before even 1960. They have been pursuing that same agenda, year in, year out. But some of you are too blind to understand what lies in front of you. This evening, we are exposing them that the world may understand, that the world may know why we are doing what we are doing. I'm going to play it for you once again. Please pay very close attention. And this time around, I'm going to interrupt. As they proceed, I will interrupt to analyze and bring to your knowledge and understanding the evil that Fulani portends for everybody, not just for Igbo people, not just for Biafrans at large, but not even just for the entire South, but for everybody who calls himself a Nigerian. Because as at the time that this man said this, uttered these very, should I say, vengeful words or insightful words, Nigeria was not at war. There was euphoria everywhere. Independence is around the corner. They're about to take over everywhere. Black people are about to rule black land. That was done it for it. This is the man that they refer to as their founding father. This is the leader of Boko Haram. This is the leader of Fulani bandits. This is the leader of Fulani headsmen. This is the leader of every terror group that has ever emerged. He is the spiritual leader. He's dead, of course. His death was what caused the war, because Britain wanted vengeance. Britain knew that Fulani hated Igbo people, because Britain hated Igbo people. Britain hates Biafra with a passion. Pure raw hatred. Raw hatred is the same hatred that the Fulanis have. You cannot explain it. Why Britain hates Biafra is beyond me. We are Anglicans, though. We are Christians, though, for your information. We attend Anglican church. We are Christians in the main. England is supposed to be a Christian nation, but their hatred for Biafra is immense. And isn't it very ironic? The only part of the zoo called Nigeria that is entirely, or should I say, homogeneous Christian, no Islam. That is the people that Britain hates most of all. And every Sunday like today, every Anglican church in Biafraland have contributed their money. Very soon they will ship it all the way to Canterbury. Are you following what I'm saying? I want you to listen once again, please, to understand those who are the fermenters of trouble in Nigeria. I want to prove to the world tonight that Fulani people are the originators of every problem in Nigeria. It was because of this statement and the statement that this man made at Sandhurst. That was why Nzogu killed him. Not because of any hatred for Fulani. And tell me why such a person should be parading himself as a Nigerian. In fact, even the journalist asked him, but shouldn't Nigerians be free to live anywhere they like? He said no. He said no. And tomorrow morning you sing, I pledge to Nigeria, my country. Do you see why I call Nigerians fools and animals? This is the reason why. Because they can reason very well. I don't understand the reason why somebody should be proud of a country where those they claim shaped it are against a particular group of people. Because Islam did not get there. Because they did not conquer us. Let me play for you again.
Major.
Listen.
Talks about killing your premier. Add on top of that the North's general hate of the East. And
the North hates the East. Ask yourself why. They love Yorubas a little bit, because that's why they said we are Yoruba forest, we're not leaving, we're not going anywhere. That's what Yetiala said, a terrorist group. That now and again they go to Asorok and they collect their own share of the money. They buy more weapons, they charter private jets, they fly in the weapons, and they're in our forests, killing us every day. I want people to understand what I'm saying tonight is very, very important. Why is it that the North hates the East? What is this hatred for an Igbo man? I'm asking. Because we are hardworking, because we are blessed, because Elohim is with us, because anywhere we go to, we bring light and we bring blessing of God upon that very place. Is that why you hate us? For no reason. Britain is aware, EU is aware, US is aware. Everybody knows. Now, why do you want us to stay in a land brimming with such hatred for a particular group of people that led to the death of 5 million of those people? We are the only people in the world, only Biafrans are the only people in the world having suffered the level of genocide we were subjected to, or should I say Holocaust. And we are still in that same country that killed us. Only us, no other people, nowhere else in the world. That is why we must change our thinking. That is why the likes of idiots like Wike and those of them, all these idiots who must reason tonight. After I think Wike has been listening to our broadcast now. He's changing Oyibo names, white man's name in Iguacha to more local names. That's they're all listening. I think he went to Waterlands and changed it to something else. It's no longer Waterlands. He was asking them, why are you answering white man's name? If he was sincere, he should have gone a step further to say, Port Harcourt is a white man's name. The name is Iguacha. Maybe someday, sometime in the new Biafra, we shall get there. I want you to listen once again to what this animal has to say. I call Ahmadu Bello an animal because only an animal can speak this very way. His hatred is not for white people. No, not at all. In fact, he said that I will give jobs to people that colonized you and subjugated you. He said, no, don't worry, I'll give jobs to you more before I can give it to an Igbo man. Are you following what I'm saying? I will give jobs to a white person. This is Africa. Your so-called Africa, one Africa. Let Africa be united one. These are the idiots that made it impossible for Africa to unite. And he's a nationalist, we are told. He's a founding father. According to Fulani Janjaweed, he is the founding father. I want you to pay attention tonight, for goodness sake. Listen.
Start to get the picture
of
the sort of tribal tension Nigeria was heading towards.
Tribal tension before 1960. So what is happening today has been there from the beginning. And I'm asking people, you have suffered this mess for nearly 60 years. The same tribal tension for 60 years. When is Nigeria going to get better? I'm asking. When will this tribal tension stop? The fact of the matter is that it can never stop. Never, ever, ever, because the hatred is deep-rooted. It's in their system. They cannot help it. Because we have not conquered the East. That's what they're saying. We have not dipped our Quran in the Atlantic Ocean that flows on the coastal lands of the East. We must take them. And that's what they're doing. Do you understand them now? All of you that believe in one Nigeria, do you begin to see that what you did was merely to dig your own graves? You have dug your graves. I'm telling you. That's what you have done. Look at the mindset of the people that you are in the same country with. And this man, you can hear from his accent, he's polished, he's educated. I think he studied at, I don't know if he was Cambridge or Oxford. You can hear, he's a prince of the Fulani Sultanate. You can hear him the way he speaks. Very crisp English. It was this man that made me to realize that mastery or command of English language does not confer upon you any, should I say, any intellect of any sort whatsoever. It doesn't. The fact that you can speak English doesn't mean you're intelligent. This was the man that made me to realize that very fact. Listen to him, please. This is the founding father, so to speak, of Nigeria. Fulani. I want to prove to the world that it was the Fulani. That what is happening in Nigeria today is the cause of the Fulani. They are the problem that you have. Listen to him.
One thing I've noticed, Premier, while I've been...
That is the voice of the British interviewer, BBC journalist, asking him. He's asking him, Premier, he was then the Premier of the North, asking him, Premier, one thing I have noticed is the obsession, the hatred, the raw hatred the Fulani have for Igbo people. Where is it coming from? A white man, BBC, they realized all the way from London that there are two people, these two tribes you have, in a place called Nigeria that they themselves created. One hates the other and wants him dead. Yet you're talking about one Nigeria. I'm asking you, with this level of hatred, on what basis, therefore, are you campaigning or championing one Nigeria, especially if you're from the East? On what basis, I ask you? How? Please explain to me. On what basis? Let us hear the journalist and the question that he had to ask. Listen.
Here is that Northerners seem to have, I mean, almost call it obsession about the Igbos.
Northerners have an obsession about the Igbos till tomorrow morning. That is where we are told that Ahmed Lawan, now the president of their so-called Zoo Senate, went to Imo State and was saying everybody should come and join APC. This is their plan from the beginning to conquer us from the beginning. Conquest! But unfortunately, a typical Igbo idiot in Abuja or Lagos cannot seem to realize this. The handwriting is there on the wall. They cannot seem to realize what is going on. A white man all the way from Europe is asking a black baboon in Africa, Why do you hate your fellow black man? The man said, I will give you a job as a white man. The same white man that we are struggling to become independent from. The same white man that killed us, put us in jail and everything. And that is the man that is the hero of Fulani. Do you understand it now? Do you now see why the zoo must fall? Do you see why Nigeria cannot stand? Do you see why anybody championing one Nigeria is an absolute and total idiot? A fool beyond the fool. Do you now understand why we say so all the time? Listen, please.
Could you perhaps explain that?
Explain to us why you hate us.
Well, the Igbos are more or less the type of people whose desire is mainly to dominate everybody.
In what way? I want to answer the Fulani Janjaweed. This was, I want you to understand. I want to also let you people know this evening or morning or night, depending on where you are, the reason why I said anybody calling himself a Niger Delta or South suffer from the same mentality, the same idiocy. Do you see where they got the nonsense from that Igbos are domineering? And in a short while, I will ask this man to tell us in what way, or should I say ways, are Igbos domineering? Because if you go now to some parts of Cross River or Akwa Ibom, or I should say before, not now, not anymore, and Bayelsa or Delta, and ask them, they say, we don't want to be dominated by an Igbo man, especially his own brothers and sisters. Echoing the same sentiment of a Fulani Janjaweed that hates them. Because when this man was talking about the Igbo people, he was talking about everybody from the East, and sometimes from the West as well. Listen carefully.